God gave John Paul the strength to be an unforgettable human being. Let us give thanks for the joy he spread his whole life long.
Everything bad that could have happened has happened. Except that.
Hello, everyone. How are you all doing today?
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
So, first of all, congratulations on the show. It's one of the first shows in a long time where I'm like, oh, it's 3 a.m. because I've sat up and watched all the episodes. I'm like, oh, I think I'm halfway through the 6th one.
Oh, wow.
Right.
So I'm having a blast. So first of all, congratulations. Second of all, I was reading a write-up on when the trailer was launched, and someone referred to this as the Avengers assembled of Irish acting talent, and I was like, that's perfect. It was spot on. But for you're filming this, during lockdown, and I think this is going to be one of those shows that people will want to potentially blitz through, which I think it's good that it's coming weekly because it's a good water cooler kind of conversation show. But during lockdown, what for each of you was the show that you're like, that's what got me through lockdown? This is what I binged when I was stuck at home.
Downton
Really?
Abbey. We became obsessed.
Were you starting
Guilty
from
pleasure.
the
From the very start
Wow.
we started, yeah.
Really?
And we drank sherry and had cheese boards. It was very fancy.
Did you get dressed up?
Wow.
No, we never actually got dressed
Stayed in
up.
trackies.
Yeah, stayed in our trackies.
Just sherry and cheese.
But yeah, we like became obsessed with it.
I don't
I
think
miss it.
had
I miss
anything
it.
like that. I mean, like everyone else, I watch Normal People.
That was mine. Normal
except
people.
the sex I fast forwards.
Did
But, yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Because they're children. I didn't want to watch. No, I was writing this bloody show, wasn't I? So I was like,
Some of us were writing shows, and others were watching teenagers having sex. All right.
It took a turn.
I wish I had sort of, gotten fully into something and watched like 8 seasons of something. But I don't know. Did you? Did you do that?
Normal people.
Oh yeah, but like watch the thing that you meant to watch yonks ago,
Oh no, I don't think so. No.
like The Wire.
We started
No.
The
You
Sopranos.
should have watched The Wire.
Yeah, no, I've watched The Wire before. You mean
Oh,
rewatch
okay,
it?
yeah.
Yeah, no, I watched it when it first came out.
I found
You
it
not
really
watched
hard.
The Wire?
I've watched The
I
Wire.
haven't watched The Wire.
You.
I found it really hard to get into things with gangsters. We tried to watch Sopranos, and it was like, I just didn't care.
What? It just wasn't
Yeah.
Downton Abbey enough.
Wasn't
You can't have sherry and cheese by watching The Sopranos. Too much violence. You're getting no questions in.
So funny. I've just learned so much about your character. And I just don't know what to say, Sarah.
I'm shocked.
Next question, Rory.
It's a big Apple TV production. I think some of the biggest shows that are coming out of Ireland, like we've had The Young Offenders, we've had Derry Girls, but this one feels expensive. When I was looking at it, I was like, there's money. I can feel everything looks beautiful. Like, so bringing that, but bringing that level of production to an Irish story, like I was like, good. We're seeing a type of production, especially a television production, we don't normally see coming based in Ireland. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I do. I mean, there's co-productions now that sort of allow for some shows to be a bit more spendy, like Kin, I guess. But I think, and of course, Normal People. But for me, this is the first time I ever had that kind of support, sort of budget wise, and that many kind of toys to play with, and just sort of being allowed to just put it all on screen, and get the best people and just really show Ireland off as well. I think it looks incredible. Beautiful. I mean, it's everything we kind of hoped it would be when we were initially sort of selling the idea to Apple of why we wanted to shoot it in Ireland. I mean, I wanted to shoot there for very sort of selfish and personal reasons, but also because it wasn't something I'd had a chance to do before. I didn't have a real sort of, fully sort of Irish story to tell. But I'm glad you noticed.
Yeah, like it jumps off the screen for me. And just you mentioned there about it being a particularly Irish story. I know it is an adaptation of a previous work, but I felt that the family dynamic in this was particularly Irish, because I know from my own family, if I was like, listen, I have a problem, my siblings were like, here, we kill him, like immediately, not like without asking questions. They're in there. So I think, were there any kind of your own family relations where you're like, I know how the Irish family system works, that we, on the one hand, we will, kill each other, not literally, but we do, we fight all the time. But on the other hand, it is a specific family dynamic that I feel is particularly Irish in this.
We all sort of know what those dynamics are like and what how far you would go for your,
Oh,
for
yeah.
your brothers or sisters.
Oh
And
my
there's
God, I've really had to, pull my brothers off a few people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not really, but kind of.
But kind of, yeah.
But yeah, that sort of big family dynamic thing, I was part of the pitch, to Apple, was that one of the reasons why I wanted to set it there is I felt like, the Irish family dynamic really suited these particular sisters. I mean, because there was a lot of them, which is, a bit of an Irish thing. Just how tightly knit they are, how close they are, and how they would literally kill for each other. There was no other real reason to set it there. I mean, I feel like the religiosity or whatever of it, that sort of was something that wasn't in the original, and that I sort of felt would suit. But then at the same time, we chose a non-Irish actor to play the villain as well. But I think that was slightly because when my family moved to Bellewstown, where we lived for decades, we had been there about 30 years and we were still considered blow-ins, so I liked the idea of someone who's truly an outsider, like outside of the family, but outside of, not being Irish, playing a part of that, and never really being able to be part of that sort of family table, and how that would impact on him and sort of, wind him up.
Yeah, like his character is so interesting in that every time he's on screen, I'm like, oh my God, I hate him so much. But I do want to almost understand him a bit more, just to be like, why do I hate him this much? It's such I need to know where Mammy came from, because I'm triggered every time he says it.
It's my daughter wants to physically attack me every time he says it, because she blames me. and I hope that it becomes a thing. I'd love it on T-shirts. Mammy. Yes. But it was from the original. It wasn't Mammy, but whatever the Belgian version of, and it made my hair stand on end, because it happens. Your partner calls you mum sometimes because that's what your kids call you, but the fact that he's given her this persona, he's kind of desexualized her. He's made her a mother figure, and but just that it would grate on the sisters every time he says it, and it grates on an audience as well, which is brilliant.
I could feel it in me. I was like, oh no. But he's at the center of this. It's a very tricky balance, this show, because at times it is very funny. There's a scene there to start where I was completely on board because people were laughing at a funeral, and I was like, yeah, that's Irish, and that's exactly what we do all the time. But there is an underlying very serious topic that smartly is being covered in a comedy, but not being made fun of, and it is this abusive gaslighting relationship. Was there a scene for each year where you're like, this is particularly tricky, this is a tightrope walk that we have to get absolutely right, because one step one way or the other?
And every scene, I thought, every scene, I just remember constantly or saying to you a lot, there's so many things to play in this. Where, what do I hear, where? And because there was just so much going on for each character, story-wise. There's so many ways you could play a scene, but it's like, how much do you want to lean in one direction? When do you want to pull back and kind of go towards the comic element? Or when is it real? This is actually quite serious, so we have to be very delicate and sensitive with it. It was real tightrope, that. It's tricky. It was really tricky.
And also, you might have one idea of how you think these sisters would be in reaction to him. But at a certain point, you can't just keep playing shock and disgust. You know, at some point it has to be just water off a duck's back. At some point it needs to make them laugh, even if they're disgusted, because it wouldn't have been interesting to watch them just feel terrible the whole time, even when they start trying to kill him, even when terrible, you know, collateral damage happens along the way. I think they all pitched it brilliantly, you know. But it was the same in the writing. It was a bit of a tightrope to walk, you know, to get the, you know, for it never to feel like it was taking that central awful abusive relationship lightly, but you know, all this other stuff had to go on around it that had to be entertaining.
Yeah, for this production in particular, there's so many specific moving parts that needs to be absolutely correct. Like, you have to get the balance of the sisters, you have to get the balance of the performers, you have to get the balance of how everything looks around Ireland. Because that's one thing I've noticed is, like, if there's an Irish production, if you take a left on a street and that next left isn't where you're going in reality, people will be like, that's not the correct geography. But was there a specific day for you all when maybe the first day you're all properly together working on it, when you're like, this feels right, it feels like we've hit the nail on the head in terms of everyone is exactly who they should be here?
Going back to what you were saying, there was a scene with Grace. I can't remember, was it like Christmas or lunch, the Easter lunch? And we snap about John Paul, and then Grace snaps at the sisters. And she never really lost it with us, but it was incredibly emotional to be part of it. First of all, to witness such brilliance, but in her performance. But yeah, it was like, this is, you know, you can't just badmouth her husband constantly. Of course she's going to snap, and it's, you know, she's in this like tiny pressure cooker and getting smaller and smaller, and then she lashed out at us, and it was like, oh, this isn't funny anymore. This is not just a comedy, you know. It was I didn't articulate that.
No,
well,
you obviously did.
I have the feeling. I remember the feeling of that day, of that scene, and how heavy the material actually is, and was.
Yeah, I think any of those scenes that were trying to be a family around that table, you know, and that was the only thing that sort of mattered to my character, really, was having that sort of happy table, and it's why she put up with him for so long, because she thought, I want Grace at the table more than I don't want him, you know. Mm-hmm. She wanted to try and sort of make everything as close to family as she possibly could, but it's like Sarah was saying, it's just like a pressure cooker all the time, you know, just, you know, trying to ignore him, trying to not hear the awful things that he's constantly saying throughout, you know, and but also there's moments of funny in that as well, you know, when they catch each other's eye. There was so much going on between us unspoken, because that's what I loved about the sisters' dynamic, is how well they knew each other, so well that they would know exactly when to look at each other, you know, to give each other a sort of silent, it's okay kind of moment, or just, don't you want to kill him? Yeah. Or let's
kill him.
Let's kill him.
And just one final question, if that's okay. So much of the drama takes place around the 40-foot going swimming. Again, it looks beautiful. I'm a regular there. I love that area. What was the decision process behind wanting to film there, and how difficult was it to not just be constantly shivering during the scenes where you have to talk in the water?
It's very difficult.
It was, we were just wrapped up in foil like babies in between. Yeah. But there was a moment in the original series where they all have a swim together. I think it's at the very end, and that just sort of stayed with me. And I had. You know, my brother goes swimming there, and his partner goes swimming there, and he took me there, and there was just this moment where I was watching this group of women in the water just having a full chat, like fully catching up in this freezing cold water, And I just thought it has to. This has to be the center of the sisters' togetherness, you know. And this is what they do all the time, and it's, you know, what they've done with their parents. And then suddenly, Grace isn't part of that, and it felt like a really big emotional thing that first Christmas when she doesn't join them. And I just hadn't seen it. I hadn't seen that kind of thing portrayed on TV before, and the 40 foot. It's unlike kind of anywhere else. I kind of felt like I wanted to, you know, share it with the world. It's such a special, sort of specific place, isn't it?
It is just something unique to there. So, you know, like soon there'll be a Bad Sisters walking tour where people take you on specific geographical places from the show.
That would be great.
Sharon, Sarah, and Eva, thank you so much.
You can't just explode a man.
He thinks someone's trying to kill him.
That's insane.